Well, cool. Wyatt, Brian, thank you for making the time today. Would love for you all to just introduce yourselves in whatever order you'd like. Maybe we could start with you, Brian, and then Wyatt, you can bring us home with a nice little intro of what Reality Network is and what you all are working on.
Cool, yeah. Um, Thanks for having me on. I'm Brian, aka Bob. I've been in the blockchain space since like 2014. Um, I moved to San Francisco that year and I started going to Bitcoin meetups and heard about Ethereum very early on. Became very interested in the whole space and its potential. And I am an attorney licensed in California, and I started working for a law firm in Silicon Valley. And a lot of my clients were the crypto companies from like the ICO boom. And so I became like very familiar with, crypto itself. And anyway, long story short, I discovered Wyatt's work many years ago, and his white papers kind of really stood out for me as something revolutionary right at the beginning. As soon as I read them, I knew that there was something special there. So I was basically, I've chased Wyatt down until now. And now I'm working with them to deliver on the vision that was articulated in those white papers.
So, Wyatt, maybe that's a good segue to talk about what those white papers were and what you're now working on.
Yes. My favorite thing is to do intros. I'm very good at them. You'll notice this in all of my talks. Yeah, hello. I'm Wyatt. I am the CEO of Reality, and been working on what would become Reality for a very long time. Brian and I have known each other for many years at this point. Also through another incarnation as well. One company, and now on to this. And like honestly, really at its core, reality is kind of like the vision and the dream that Ethereum really tried to, you know, basically like make happen a long time ago. They were calling it like a world computer. For us, we're basically trying to create like a new internet that runs on personal devices and kind of like democratizes and crowdsources all of the different aspects of what the modern web is today so that people can basically start a technology company with just an idea and the ability to code and $0 down and find some people to support you in a community and users and go off to the races. So yeah, that's it in a sentence. I just
No,
made that up, so whatever.
I think that encapsulates what reality is from my understanding. And I was so interested. Shout out to Charles who put all of this together. We met in DC at a happy hour that I put on and or I co-hosted rather. I don't want to take all the credit, but Charles immediately, when we were getting to know one another, started talking about reality and it was like we were finishing each other's sentences. So I currently work at QuickNote, and that's where all of this kind of aligned. Is that you know understanding the power of compute, how important it is, why developers need it, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people understand. And then what I got so excited about is the fact that you're democratizing it. You do not need to be this, you don't need to have any. I mean, hopefully, and the end goal here is like if you're building something and you're building it on reality, you don't need like a tranche of capital to get going. You could do it right off the rip. Bootstrap, if you have an idea, you already have your compute, right? So I guess how did you all get started? We could talk about the white paper and what the premise is of it in a little bit more detail, but I think what would be awesome, Wyatt, is going back before reality, talking about how you got started as an entrepreneur and what led you to this idea that we have today.
Sure. I love the E word, the entrepreneur word. It's really funny for me because I feel like every professional just like at some point becomes an entrepreneur. I feel like it's just kind of like the final form of your like professional Pokemon or something. Evolution, whatever. But yeah, I mean, for me, I was originally gonna become a physicist. I was really into like quantum computer or quantum engineering, basically. sort of like applying quantum computing to, making metamaterials and synthetic quantum fields and shit. Actually, I my first gig was working at NASA and the SETI Institute looking for aliens. That was kind of cool, and it was actually my first experience. Well, one, working as a professional software engineer, which is pretty much like my only real claim to fame, honestly. I published some papers too, but like, I'm not like an actual PhD. But yeah, and that's when I got into information theory, and I used like a kind of, sort of like a hack of Claude Shannon's notion of information entropy. And actually something, John C. Lilly, the dude who's doing a bunch of acid and ketamine and talking to fucking
Yeah.
dolphins.
Dolphins. Yeah.
So I read his paper and I was like, all right, I can like basically take some of the stuff he noticed about, various different like animals and apply this to create something that's like a, like a filter or like a binary classifier. That's what we'd call it in machine learning, which is really what AI is. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But yeah, basically I made a binary classifier for pretty much any data source, but it was specifically used on the Allen Telescope Array, and basically like any kind of like data stream that goes through it would like go through my classifier and be able to notice like whether or not this was like some kind of animal or like communication that had an information complexity that was more akin to like a human or a dolphin or a whale or something, rather than like just two asteroids hitting each other. So that was my first gig. Then, then I worked.
Can we touch on that for 1 second, Wyatt?
Yeah,
Because I don't want to just glaze over that. So just for the smooth brains in the back, you're telling me that when you were putting this, I guess indexer or ability to like interpret data, you're looking for communication. So anomalies of noise that are actually it's not just like a big vibration of sound that is not like there's actually complexities to it. That's what you were looking for with the Allen telescope.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a great intro. It's like about me. Well, that was cool. And then my first like real job, because I was just like in school still. I got some sick ass internship to work at Ames, the research base in the South Bay. Kind of just never really left San Francisco. Your heart is in San Francisco. I left actually because of COVID, but it's still there. I don't know. I'm in Paris right now, but whatever. I'm digging Paris, but
it's a great city.
I'm a San Franciscan at heart, but yeah. Anyway, so worked in tech for pretty much my whole career after college. From like I was in San Francisco from 21 until I was just after 30, so about 9 years, and worked at 3 companies. And honestly, like the real kind of genesis of everything that would be reality was kind of like what happened at my first gig. And so I was an early employee. It was probably less than 50 people at the company. And I made, with a couple of dudes, the first prototype of this like main flagship, like, app, which was like, this was back in the big data, like data science age when like this was all brand new and shit. And so basically I was working on a like data engineering, like infrastructure team. And so we created the first production Spark application. To my knowledge, I'm pretty sure it is, at least according to like people at Databricks who I was talking to at the time. And basically, yeah, what happened was that we made this thing. It was doing really well. We had a customer. It was like American Express or something, and they like started paying like $1 million a month. It was phenomenal. They raised a bunch of money, got like a multi-billion-dollar valuation, raised like $350 million. It was insane. Got a whole office, too many T-shirts. I think someone also bought like do-rags or like ridiculous fucking swag. It was one of those. And then, but that wasn't actually the the snake that got us. It was Amazon Web Services, because basically like overnight, like, as soon as we like staffed up the team, basically we were looking at like what was originally like tens of thousands of dollars in AWS bills skyrocketed to $600,000. It didn't actually reach $1 million a month. But yeah, there was a down round and then a fire sale. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And they just really get you by the balls. I mean, the same way that crypto exchanges get crypto companies by the balls, which we'll talk about later, and something else we've done. and fixed. But yeah, I mean, the bottom line here is that innovation globally has been completely stifled due to the fact that like you literally can't get the funding necessary to just like launch an idea unless you're part of like an old boys network in terms of funding and shit, or like you
Facts.
have like such good, like you've just been around and like done so much work that like your work speaks for you. um, and so yeah, I mean what's been sick that people have like created in the last like 20 years that like hasn't been backed by someone who's already a Silicon Valley billionaire or like connected to those networks. It really hasn't. We haven't seen anything like that since the dot-com bubble, honestly.
That's
And
right.
even when I was getting in at this first gig, it was right after 2008, and the interest rates were super duper low, and everybody had mega, buku bucks to like throw at startups. So that's where the big data bubble kind of came from. But yeah, I mean, it's a big problem. And, the whole kind of promise of crypto and everything that we were hearing, Ethereum say they were going to do, and eventually kind of like, that whole image of like how crypto project starts. It's like this super cyborg space age, like horse, and then it ends up being like a 4-year-old's drawing. That's kind of like what smart contracts ended up being. They're like Excel spreadsheets with like, 100, stack frame proofs, if you will, which, not to use technical jargon, but basically like the only thing you can really put in a smart contract is like an Excel spreadsheet. You can't actually put an application like something that would go in AWS. And as a matter of fact, it's a really long-standing problem called remote code execution or remote code verification. It's a huge problem in cryptography and computer science. And yeah, Reality is the first solution, like general purpose solution, to my knowledge, to date, that's ever been done. I'm still waiting for my Turing Award. Maybe I'll get that. I'll settle for $1 billion, but whatever. But yeah, what's really sick about it is that you can, when you download our app, put it on your phone, your laptop, whatever, people can basically put their applications, like Web2 applications or even smart contracts or whatever you want, onto your phone, your laptop, whatever, and their code can't fuck with your shit. Your hardware can't fuck with their code. And essentially all these consumer devices and stuff that's like, the size of your cell phone right now, that's like in your pocket, is like as big as some of the mid-sized instances like on AWS like 10 years ago. I mean, yeah, we basically just like found a way to sort of like a
Tap
virus,
into it, right?
song, just sort of like actually like turn all of the shit that kind of controls our lives, these black screens like John D or whatever, into a way that just pays you. And so our goal is basically to create like, external revenue streams for individuals to just like quit their day jobs that they fucking hate and find a way to just sort of innovate and create stuff that like works for them, lifestyles that work for them. And you can basically just like make your own tech company for free with you and your buddies, and put it on your phones and your laptops and just start paying your bills. It's going to be sick.
I was just having first. Thank you for the more like granular like inspiration of how this all came about, and I think it ties in really nicely of your backstory, um, and pain points. That's such a crazy. That is such a crazy like inspiration of okay, AWS is just dogging us right now. We got to find a way to like get around it, especially for other founders. And I think that's probably like the best part that I wasn't aware of prior to this conversation. But going into what Reality's doing, so you're just again to reiterate, you're taking the compute of all of these hardwares around the world. It doesn't have to be the newest iPhone. It doesn't need to be a Mac. It doesn't need to be, the most expensive Samsung. If you have compute on your app or on your device, you're able to participate in this.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have some really cool shit cooking in Africa right now. This would probably be a good time for Brian to talk about this. Brian was actually in South Africa launching this cool phone that I guess he could talk
And
about.
you have Brian, you have the phone on you right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just out there. Yeah, I do. It's a great phone. So it's the Phoenix X phone created by BitMobile, who are a long-standing partner of ours. And they had the launch down in South Africa in a few different cities. And I went to Cape Town, where it was being launched in Pick and Pay, which is like the second largest retailer in South Africa. And it was a great time. The BitMobile team are amazing. And the phone really, it's a blockchain smartphone, like Solana's phone. But it's much, much cheaper than ordinary smartphones. It's like $200. And it has really secure biometrics and a lot of cool educational modules. and it runs the Android operating system, so it's familiar. And basically, we have our app, the Android version of our Node application, which is called Portal, pre-downloaded on their phone. So the phone in general rewards you. There's other things where you can do on the phone to get rewards, but by running our application, you get rewarded by Reality Network, and your phone is basically transformed into a node. And we're working on lots of other angles for this, but that's basically the first step we've taken. In terms of like why Africa and why we love this partnership with BitMobile, Africa is like an untapped like giant in the crypto world. Like it's actually extremely active, but most people in the West just neglect it, and we think that's kind of disappointing because crypto is poised to have the biggest impact there, bigger than anywhere else. And so we think that basically we should go down there and try to implement infrastructure to improve the lives of people there, enable entrepreneurs to build without being gouged by cloud. Because down in Africa, what Wyatt was describing there, it's even worse. The cloud companies are gouging African businesses. They're charged cloud bills that are denominated in dollars, and they're earning in local currency. So basically, they're screwed, right? If there's any fluctuation, which there often is, in the price of local currencies against the dollars, it can be a business-breaking fluctuation. There was a few lawsuits. One of Google's subsidiaries was suing a food delivery business called Twiga in Kenya for unpaid cloud bills. And it was literally just, that's an example. It was a couple $100,000, and it basically nearly put them out of business. I think they eventually came to a settlement, but we think that like we can really have the biggest impact there. So that's where we're really focused on starting.
Okay, first off, one of the things that I think is really exciting that you just touched on is this massive boom that we're seeing from non-Western users of blockchain. I know India has a huge presence as well. Is that another place that you're looking to explore and expand as you continue to scale? I know you have relationships in Africa, and that's a start. But one of the things when I was speaking to Charles is the game plan, and please like correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I may be mistaken here, but you're not looking to break into the United States anytime soon. And I think that this is, well, maybe we could talk about like, you're in Africa now. What's your strategy of expanding from here?
Well, Africa is just the first step, and we think that we can make the biggest impact there. The Western world, America, Europe, is very noisy. There's so many crypto projects. And, to the untrained eye, like they all look basically the same. They're all making incremental improvements on Ethereum, but none of them really work. None of them are really revolutionary. And so, we want to go to where we can immediately be felt, our impact can be felt, we can actually help people and use that as a proof point for moving into the States. But honestly, we already have a lot of American companies who are building us. We have companies from Europe too. And there's a huge variety in the type of applications that are being built. It's not just DeFi or memes or NFTs. It's actual like Web 2 applications that are really interesting and have like full functionality that you would have on an Amazon web server. You have in our network for a fraction of the cost.
So just looking at it from an end user, to be motivated to go find one of these phones, get, the onboarding process for me, what's the payout for these end users? Do you have like an idea of how much some of these people are going to be earning by just passively holding the phone, using the app in the background while they go about their day?
We have an idea, but I don't think we want to be too specific, because as more people join the network, the value of the token will go up, but the amount of tokens that you get will go down because you're competing with all the other people joining. So it's like a rebalancing, finding an equilibrium. But on testnet, if you look at the token price we're looking at as a par value when we launch for the TGE, it's looking pretty good, like pretty damn good, and really, really good if you're in like a township in Africa and you have very little money or resources.
And when I ask that question, I'm actually not asking for a dollar amount. It's more so of like the overall impact that it's going to have. Is this for, like, speaking of these African townships, is this actually going to be life changing where it's not just, oh, it's a nice couple of bucks in my pocket that can get me an extra, a dessert? Or is this like, no, this is going to be feeding me?
It's going to be life changing, yeah. And one of the guys who I should mention, who I met when I was in Cape Town, is Colin Mkosi, who lives in the Langa Township. He's a young entrepreneur there who set up a business called Cloudy Deliveries. It's like an Uber Eats for the township. There's 200,000 people in this township, and it's actually one of the smaller ones in Cape Town. So he wants to scale his business to other townships, and he is looking down the barrel of a huge Firebase cloud bill, which makes it just prohibitive for him. So what we want to do is, we've already given him the Phoenix X phone. We're going to get the Node application installed on the computers that he has. He has 2 computers in the Cloudy headquarters, which is a container in Langa. And we're basically going to enable all the people in Langa who like Cloudy to host the Cloudy WhatsApp bot that they use to automate deliveries on their phones and laptops. So instead of paying, hundreds of dollars per month or maybe more to Cloudflare, he can reward people in the community who like his business with there's a few different possibilities, but like free meals, right? Host our WhatsApp bot and you get a free meal, every month or something like that.
And then just to clarify, these people that are in the township, they do not need the phone. He needs the phone. But these individuals can still pull their compute just from downloading the app, correct?
Yeah, that's right. You can actually just get it on the Google Play Store. So it's going to be available to anyone who has like an Android phone or an iPhone. That's coming shortly as well.
And this is right now. You don't need to be in Africa in order to download the app. This is across the globe.
Correct. Yeah.
Got it. So for someone that is downloading the app from the United States, like myself, I'm still able to participate, and others from all around the world are able to benefit from my compute, even if I'm in the United States.
Yeah, that's it.
Amazing. It's really exciting, and I think the benefits. We're not used to this. Like, this is the wave of Web3 that I think people are starting to get wrap their heads around, is the fact that there are opportunities for us to earn that we're so used to just being pinched on.
Absolutely.
And I think the genius behind utilizing every smartphone at some point, right? The total addressable market is basically everyone, right?
Yeah.
Anyone with a phone, you're able to, and then look, like the impact and the benefit for everyone it's going to be different. But for these people that are struggling to find work or struggling to find opportunity in townships in Africa that are way more rural, they're able to generate income from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, and anyone, anywhere. And I guess like one point that Wyatt made before, which I thought was amazing, was that this obviates the need to go to the VCs with your begging bowl and like ask for money and give them 50% of your company or whatever in order to get enough money to pay the cloud providers who are often your biggest expense. And that's really important for the reason that a lot of the best builders suck at pitching, right? They suck at pitching their company, and being able to pitch and being able to build a profitable company are not the same thing. So we're basically saying, no, forget all that. You can just build, and you can, if people like your idea, they will be able to support it from right within the application. It will be listed in the portal application in a drop-down menu, and they'll say, I like the sound of this idea. I like what they're doing. They're making good progress. I'm going to support them. And basically use your compute as capital, right? You're actually like investing in the company using the compute from your idle devices.
And that was one of the draws for me to get involved on Farcaster. If you all are somewhat familiar with it, I was drawn to it because of the fact that it's exactly what you're trying to accomplish as well, where Farcaster is an immediate, and it would be great. I don't know what the synergy is, but I think if you have builders on Reality that are looking for an opportunity to build and get in front of an audience that's immediately going to understand how to utilize their product, especially if it's built on chain. That was the draw for me to Farcaster is, you know, you hear about all of these devs that don't have access to capital, that don't know, you know, how to get in front of the Andreessen and Horowitzes or the USVs of the world, but they still have a great product. They still have a great solution. They may not be the best one to go in sales, like to do a sales pitch and advocate for their company, but they're geniuses in their own right in a completely different way, and they know how to build. So for me, I'm like, they need a platform. They need the ability to at least showcase what they're building. Maybe it's to a smaller audience, and maybe they're small as well, but I think that there's a starting point there, and it's been a great incubator and a launch pad that I think you all are trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Taking that because the thing that's so painful about it is like it doesn't it that expense that you're paying is just keeping the lights on barely. Like it's like rent. If you're renting an apartment and you're paying to live in New York City or San Francisco or any of these, like you just burn holes in your pockets from just giving away for rent. And it's
Yeah.
the same premise of like being a builder. I have to shell out all of this like crazy amounts of money just to be able to stay alive. And it's debilitating. It's
Yeah.
crippling these people to like really
Yeah.
build innovative stuff.
Yeah, it's chronic debt. You're chronically indebted because it's like you're stealing from your future self to pay for right now. And like this is obviously holding businesses back and killing businesses, you know. So yeah, we basically like remove that.
Yeah. So I mean, what are some of the hurdles that you're faced with right now that may not be like a death blow, but stuff that you all are working around to just try and get to market a little bit faster?
Well, I would say incredulity, right? So like a lot of the people that we talk to just don't necessarily believe what we say we are. Like they don't believe like that it could be this profound. And noise. Like there's a lot of other projects that like they speak in technical jargon and they say we're the world computer, we're this, we're that, and it's all really hard to parse, like and separate the truth from the falsehood. You know, a lot of this is like it's just a popularity contest and marketing, and people make money through chasing that, through chasing narratives. So that the money just compounds all of this. It really compounds the problem because if you make money because you support some other chain, it doesn't mean that that chain works or will ever really work. It means that you made money and well done, but that's not really the purpose of the whole space, right? The purpose is to really decentralize uh, everything, decentralize technology, remove these monopolies that have been holding everyone down for so long. So I'd say those two things are the biggest obstacles.
For sure. Wyatt, do you have thoughts? It looks like you wanted to add. Oh, you're on. I think you're on mute.
Honestly, just I really love anytime Brian can just talk. He's so much better than I am.
Okay.
You know, I mean, the incredulity, I mean, is pretty much like the biggest one. I mean, it's, you know, what's really cool about the app too is it's really, it's pretty straightforward to just like set your computer up to like become a miner now. I don't know if anybody, you know, out there's like ever tried to do this, but like, you know, setting up like a server side application is kind of a bitch. I mean, you need to know a thing or two, some DevOps, you know, maybe even like know how some code works. And like, you know, we just have this like multi-step process where like people just like click some buttons and then they like log into their, you know, basically they just like look up something on the back of their router at home, and then it's like now they're like mining on their computer and they're just like, how the fuck does this work now? I thought I needed like a $10,000 ASIC to mine Bitcoin, and it's like, nope. And it's like, yep. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, like, and I will tell you, just to bring it back to the Africa thing and just like the United States, is it's like, I mean, look, the real talk here is it's like, you know, to use the worst phrase ever, low hanging fruit is in Africa and the developing world, because like people are open. You know what I mean? I think in the United States, like real talk, like, you know, our biggest hurdle is basically like everybody's down bad right now. They've all overinvested by a lot. Can devs do something? It is what it is. and everybody's just in their own echo chamber trying to like shill some tokens they bought 3 years ago because they want to get out, and like nobody even really gives a fuck. Like there's no inspiration, there's no soul left in crypto, especially like in the West, because everybody's like, no one's innovating. All the investors are just going to the next big brand that they can throw some shit in, that they can put Pelagi on their fucking website, and or like it used to be Vitalik or used to be whatever. And people who are actually interested in using innovative and new technologies are just these different developing markets. So I think I mean, look, it's what's really funny about this all is it's actually been quite easy. Everything's kind of just sort of fallen into place for us, which is really when how things are like working out. And the thing I think that if I was just to say like the only sort of like hurdle is really just for I think people who are like seeing this stuff and just not getting involved, because like you're gonna get in and you're gonna be late and you're gonna buy a local top. There'll be a next one. But maybe this would actually be some kind of game changing thing for people all over the world, and sort of allow people who actually like want to like work and do shit to actually like compete now, because I think a lot of people are lazy in the West, and now I think it might be time to double down. Maybe you should be buying more crypto rather than trying to sell your blank or whatever it is. So
Yeah. No, I think a couple of things that you're touching on that I think really resonate is the fact that people are kind of burnt out in the West, and
100%.
maybe a bit of it is laziness, but maybe they've also just been shilled a bunch of junk,
Well, yeah,
and
it is.
and they're just tired of all of the same nonsense where they're promised the world and it's a rug pull, right? If they're
Well, yeah.
even if we're just talking about like tokens to purchase, right? So I think they've been used as exit liquidity. They're tired of the bullshit. And then when they hear of a project or a startup that's using real utility, like using blockchain for a purpose, they're immediately like, this is a grift. So you've lost that audience. And that's just the nature of it. That's what it is. And so be it. So then to further the point and why it's genius to go after the African market is the fact that one, there is talent. There's a lot of builders that are out there that have the capabilities, just not the means. So that's a immediate pain point that's being solved. And then additionally, like they need that income a lot more than like the fat and happy Silicon Valley kid that actually has a pulse on what's going on in crypto. They don't need that extra couple of bucks, I would imagine, not to be too, general here and speaking like general terms, but yeah, so that makes perfect sense. Some of the things that like I'm thinking about when hearing more about this is some of the like day-to-day stuff in terms of privacy, in terms of security. Like you're getting everyone tapped in, which is the decentralized aspect I think that at least brought me into blockchain. But in the security aspect, the privacy, self-sovereignty, like all of those things is what brought my attention and brought me in. Do you still hold those as some of the values that you all have at Reality?
Yes, I mean yeah.
Because a lot of people, Wyatt, a lot of people will be like, we're a decentralized blockchain and we care about your privacy and your security. But meanwhile, there are centralized like nodes that are able to just turn off a network immediately. If there is a hack, like for example, I don't know if you saw what the SUI network went through the other day with their I think it was like their CETUS like protocol. They got hacked and all of them were able to just immediately shut it down. So all of the retail, it's like, oh, great, problem solved. But me, on the other hand, I'm like, wait, how can they just turn that shit off like that? That's not okay. That means you're not a decentralized blockchain.
Yeah. I mean, well, first off, let me just say that my only hero in life is John McAfee.
Yes, dude.
Also, like, sorry if I called people lazy. I don't mean to call people lazy,
No,
but
you're
burnout
good.
is
Yeah.
the right term. I mean, in the reality here, as I love to say, is that, well, I mean, you said it. I mean, people are burned out. They've got a lot of unhealed trauma from all this bullshit. And I mean, the real talk is it's like it's time to double down on like what brought us all into crypto to begin with. And the thing about sort of semi-centralizing things, I'm gonna get to something also too on like tech wise. Brian, you should also like guide me because we're submitting a patent right now. I don't know what I can say, but we have a solution to like I'll get into it in a second, but um, basically when people like get traumatized or like they get burned out or they get just fucked over and it's like they're just trying to figure out what to do, they go back to something that's familiar to them. You know what I mean? It's like familiarity is comforting. It's like I know how to deal with this. So that's why you're seeing a lot of everybody's trying to do kind of just like, more, back to software as a service type pitches. Like, what's your revenue? What's your sales pitch? How's your sales thing? You know what I mean? And it's like, well, why are we even decentralized to begin with? I mean, isn't blockchain good enough? And, maybe that's totally the case, but like, I just think, this is kind of like this is the darkness before the light that we've all been through. This is right after we're in a period kind of similar in between Mount Gox in 2008 or 2018 right now, and it's like you just gotta like you just have to believe. One must believe. One must like realize. Don't just believe. Realize. All the shit that we're all here about, and I mean like the real talk, if I was gonna, just say some honest to God truth, is like most people don't remember the mining wars of 2016, and there's a reason why there's only I think 7 Bitcoin mining farms left on Earth. Doesn't sound very decentralized to me. And there's also a reason why Blockstream was founded, and a reason why Lightning was created. And all these things, if I'm just gonna sort of, it gets down to something called the finality problem. Bitcoin isn't actually as decentralized as you think it is. And in order to basically create exit liquidity for early Bitcoiners, people basically started to centralize the whole stack in order to make things sort of like, capitulate with the, I guess you'd say in tech service level agreements, but basically just sort of like the demands of the APIs that like people are more like used to, because people just didn't want to like solve the hard problem. You know what I mean? They saw an opportunity to basically like, mainstream it, sort of, just sort of basically blend it with what people were comfortable with. And, basically like I just slowly started to see a lot of big heads stop trying to solve the big problems. And at this point, I don't really see a lot of other people who've been like, doing it in a basement like, we have. But the real talk here is like this thing with finality that we've got. And I'm not going to say anything about how it works, but basically like it's going to fix Bitcoin. It's going to fix every other chain out there. It's kind of how our integrations work, and like, the ability to use our decentralized exchange, which is also a big issue in with crypto companies and stuff. I could tell you from experience later on, but yeah, I mean, basically, like in addition to just making our own chain, with the kind of the ethos and the values that like got us all to quit our day jobs to do this, like we fixed a fundamental problem in crypto right now that's going to, for once and for all, actually make crypto decentralized. And it's a really big fucking deal. And I don't
Huge
think
fucking deal.
they're not gonna really realize it until like you're actually mining Bitcoins on your laptop fractionally, of course, but like, using
Still
reality.
participating, and you're still getting exposure to something that is completely gate kept right now.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. It's like we're bringing it back to the people, guys. Like we're back. Like, you used to be able to, mine ETH on a laptop. That was like they wanted to make like ASIC resistant consensus. Like, how the fuck did we get to proof of stake? What?
dude,
What? Where are we? You know what I mean? But I don't want to be too negative, but dude, there really is like a light around the corner, man, and like it's maybe the reason why we're all just so chilling and feeling good is because like we actually see this shit every day, and we see what it does to people, and we know like what impact it's gonna have, and for us, it's just kind of like I kind of feel like we're in the third act of like a movie, and what's that? I don't know. But basically, it's good, and we're really happy to just sort of like bring life back into crypto as it is today. Even beyond ourselves, because there's value comes from everyone doing something all at once, or experiencing something all at once. The source of value is everyone experiencing something all at once, and we're bringing the value back into crypto by allowing everybody to mine and actually like print their own fucking money, man.
yeah. No, I mean that's a pretty noble task that you all have taken on. I think going into some of the things that you touched on with like finality, one of the things that Charles was telling me, the other day was the layers like zero, right? What's the differentiator of reality? And he was like, atomic swaps, layer zero. That's all I'm going to say. I'll let Wyatt and Brian talk more about it. So if maybe this is a good segue to talk a little bit about the technology behind reality.
Yeah, Brian's got a great way of describing it, so I'll do a quick one and then drop to him. But the TLDR is basically like the term layer zero. I don't know who came up with it, but I independently did make it up. I pulled it out of my ass once in a talk in my living room in San Francisco many years ago during another incarnation. And I can tell you right now that like nobody really is actually like a layer zero, because like what it meant to be a layer zero was something I kept to myself for reasons that will be explained at some point. It will all make sense. I promise you. It'll be really funny, hopefully. But the TLDR here is that what is a layer zero? Layer zero is a consensus process that allows all other layer ones to integrate with one another seamlessly, and specifically make atomic updates on each other's ledgers. For us, from a product standpoint, we've created a DEX that allows people to like, when you create a token with Reality and you like create your own, network using our like blockchain in a box kind of thing, or what's it called? Disintermediated interoperability layer. I had to like use note cards for that shit. I don't know. That's what people were calling it 2 years ago. It's blockchain in a fucking box. It's the shit Gavin Wood was talking about for like ages and ages, when he peeled off to do Polkadot. But yeah, basically like you can swap your token for Bitcoin and Ethereum as of right now, and some stables that are on ETH. And you don't need to have your balls in a vice by exchanges, which, fun fact, when you list on an exchange, they basically can threaten to delist you at any time unless you basically pay market makers to do wash trading, which is technically gray area illegal in crypto.
Illegal.
That's how it all works.
100%.
But it's gray area, at least in America. So they're doing it. And I can tell you that's what happens. And a lot of companies no longer innovate because they just want to keep their token on an exchange so they can get liquidity. And that's literally all they do every fucking day. It's very soulless.
100%.
It will rot you from the inside. But yeah, man, that's done. Exchanges are done. And it's because of.
So are we talking about decentralized exchanges, central, all of them you believe are done? Like,
I mean, I think other DEXs like
too...
Uniswap, sure, but like, the way that Binance and like these other mafioso like networks work, I mean, and you have to pay them millions of dollars. And, right now their whole shtick, the whole new scam is that you give them a down payment that they promise they'll give back to you as soon as they tell you whether or not they're not going to list you. But in the terms, it doesn't say that there's a time limit, or they don't ever have to tell you that they don't have to list you. So they basically just take money from people. Yeah, that's a real fun one. Anyway, happening right now. I've seen it myself. It had my name on it. But anyway, yeah, so that's just the kind of shit that's going to become possible with a layer zero. And it's basically going to like, re-energize all these different L1s to actually have value. Because for most people, like all they see is they would download a new exchange app, they get a new airdrop in their token, they go, try to trade on these apps, and all the order books are fake anyway. And we now have a DEX that has a like open order book with like blockchain transparency on it. You don't have to pay a single dime to get listed, and you can do it all and manage every single token that you want from your same fucking app on your fucking phone, that you mine any token that you want to, all because of a layer zero. That's what a layer zero is. Anyway, Brian, what's a layer zero?
Yeah, that. Now, it also, I would say, it's worth mentioning, it extends beyond crypto. It's like we perform consensus on data itself, right? So it's like we verify state, which means that anything that you can digitize, you can plug in. So like we talking about traditional financial instruments can be digitized. We can perform consensus on them as well, and basically enable, true interoperability of assets. That's like the fullest scope possible. So I'd say that's kind of what a layer zero really is. And the important thing is, like with a lot of these other protocols, you have like bridges, which are bottlenecks. They're honeypots for like hackers and stuff like that. They're a big problem. They're expensive. They've made a bunch of money. Like they've made hundreds of millions in the last few years.
Wasn't the
And
whole point of blockchain to cut out, well, one of the points to cut out the middleman?
exactly,
You
yeah.
know, and like, why are these protocols sitting there being like, oh, well, if you want to switch from Solana to ETH, like, well, you're going to have to deal with this bridge. And if you're in this bridge, we're going to take a pretty nice chunk of the, asset that you're trading across chains.
Hmm.
Like, that doesn't sound decentralized. That doesn't sound like innovation. That just sounds like
Yeah,
we are recreating the same monster that we did with traditional finance that we're all
Correct.
running from the hills from, right?
yeah.
Like,
It's like they've proliferated with no sense of irony about this whole like we were meant to cut out the middleman, and now here we are rebuilding a whole other
it's the
system.
same, but this is the thing, Brian. Sorry to kind of go off subject here, but this is where my like disgust with some of the things, and I did not anticipate going into like, I usually keep these things pretty high level and light. Like, I don't really go into opinions very much, but while we're on the subject, coming from that like traditional finance space, one of the like catalysts, honestly, for me was the AMC GME debacle and how they were like, real, like it was just completely transparent how disgusting the SEC and the hedge funds were all in a cabal, like just
Mm-hmm.
completely dictating how these halts were occurring. You're even seeing it still happens today. But like the thing is like someone from Morgan Stanley would never participate in penny stocks and like shitters like GME and AMC. But for me, it was COVID. I was a degen. I'm like, you know what? Like, let's just play ball. Let's just go after it. Let's just play these options. I never trade on leverage. Like I never, do margin trading. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy some calls on AMC. And I did really well, timed it. Like,
Nice.
not that I'm some genius, but like I did. But it got too good and everybody was getting in on it. So what do? They halt and everyone stops. Everyone's like, wait, what's happening? Minute that they open it back up, everything dumps. And it never bounces back. I think this was like somewhere like 22, like end of like 21, early 22. But anyway, the point being though is like that gave me so much disgust in the, the traditional markets where I'm like, I'm never touching a stock again. I don't trust in my government in, regulating and putting guidelines on how I should trade. I'm not going to trust these major institutions. We need a platform and we need a place, Web3, blockchain, where we can be in control of our own assets, but have a perpetual market where it's open 24/7. And like we're not in this like game that is run by the cabal. But then you start seeing these little things pop up and it's like, oh, but it just makes things innovative and seamless and it allows us to do X, Y, and Z in a much more like efficient manner. AKA, you're the middleman, you're getting your piece, just like they did back in the old model that we have. This isn't benefiting anybody. And my fear, so Wyatt, you're talking about like we're sitting here chilling and we're pumped and we're happy because we know we're going to like change the game on this. For me, I love hearing that because that's what brought me in here. But at the same time, I'm seeing all of the old things get brought on chain right now. And there needs to be like, it sounds so corny, but it's like there needs to be this white knight and there needs to be this like person that steps in and is like, enough with this
Yeah,
bullshit. You're recreating what we just ran away from and that we all fucking hate. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah. It's a bit of a tangent, but like Wyatt was saying earlier, that it feels like we're in the third act of a movie, and everything that Roaring Kitty like it embodies, like that whole ethos, is really what we are trying to extend into crypto. And in screenwriting, there's this whole phrase "save the cat." Like there's this like plumb line that runs through the whole play. So I think we're trying to save the cat in the third act. We're trying to embody Roaring Kitty's ethos and really like cut out all these middlemen, right, and stop all this scalping that's going on, and financial disenfranchisement. That's what it is, right? We're getting
exactly
like
right.
screwed at every turn, and it's time for it to stop.
And that's exactly it is financial disenfranchisement because all of the people that found out were not supposed to. The markets did not anticipate a Reddit forum called Wall Street Bets to put a bunch of fucking morons together, and a couple of them were onto it, just like Roaring Kitty. Roaring Kitty, like here's the thing: the ponytail and the red bandana, it's perfect. Like what his like his ethos is exactly what it should be. He's Series 7 license. He's Series 66 license. He knows exactly what the game is, but he's not in the cabal, right? He's not this like, and he could have been. I think he's just from like Massachusetts, but like I don't think he went to an Ivy League. I don't think he got that proper education and network. He just learned the game and then utilized the technology that we have today, Twitch, streaming platforms, YouTube Live, like whatever, and educated. And because he educated what the game was, Ken Griffin wasn't anticipating it. The people over at Robinhood weren't anticipating it. Next thing you know, got a bunch of degens sitting there with a couple bucks with a COVID check that are like, I'm following that guy. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm going to buy a bunch of call options and figure it out. And that's exactly what happened. And then you saw it in real time, how quickly a centralized, government, like everyone's in on it together. Like all of those bulge bracket firms, there's no free market capitalism in America anymore. Talk about an unpopular opinion and a hot take. There's just not. And, I'm unapologetically going to believe that. Call me a conspiracy theorist, call me whatever name you want, but that's just the world we live in today. And so for me, I'm like, that's what blockchain's all about. And that sounds like exactly the problem you're trying to solve, which, yeah, is admirable. I hope you don't get, McAfee'd, Wyatt, but like, dude.
Yeah, man, he definitely taught me some shit. If there's anyone who's still alive right now, hit me up. I believe.
Yeah.
You're right, though. All this stuff is so much more incongruous in crypto, because crypto was explicitly created to combat this kind of shit, and it's just going right back down, backsliding back to that whole middleman gouger bullshit. So yeah.
But like, here's the thing, Brian. It's not just with like real utility and like real use cases. It's even as low. Like, I've been in the trenches. I was having fun in like, the Solana meme coin days. I'm like, oh, this is cool as hell. Like, this is funny. Like, you guys are making money. Let me take a look. And then you start seeing these like little key opinion leader, like influencer cabals that are going to these people that are creating funny memes and being like, you're going to give me 2% of the like supply and I'll go shill it for you. And then they dump on it the minute that it goes up. And that's just look at what's happened to Solana. They were one of the faster chain, like, again, not in my opinion, like it's not a decentralized blockchain, but like you see like how quickly and efficient the transactions are occurring. It's really cheap fees, but they like wrecked it because they brought that old model of like gatekeeping and being a cabal. Like naturally, it's the human element of things that I think are deterring us. So if we're able to have something like reality where you're protecting yourself from being able to be a nefarious actor on chain, like that's the benefit.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's like a prophylaxis against like corruption. I'd say like reality. I often think about it this way: like reality kind of has its own immune system. Think of it that way, because it just comes with transparency. When you have true transparency on a really decentralized ledger, it's far harder to pull the wool over people's eyes and to screw them. Yeah, and including for reality itself, we obviously don't want to be in a position where we could do that. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even want to have to like explain myself. That's like the most sketchiest thing you can do is be like, "Well, look at this." It's like, no, man, just use it. Like, we just hang out. So the less I talk, the better.
Yeah. Well, that's probably not best for me. Well, thank God you have Brian here today. But yeah, I mean, so kind of shifting gears back to reality, what are some of the things that you all are thinking about today? Like, what are some of the like short-term goals that you all are trying to accomplish? What are what's some alpha that you all have that would be enticing to like, the audience of people that are on Farcaster or like, that may hear this on X or something?
All right, one quick thing. I just want to do like one tech thing. Brian, also like stop me if I like say too much because it's panic. Because I missed something else. Told you about the talking. So I mentioned something else too. Weaponized autism. That's me. Basically, I mentioned something earlier I want to talk about. It's called the Mexican standoff. And basically, it's a totally decentralized version of how individuals are able to create kind of like, collateralized, like, financial instruments, basically, or like an options contract, so you can basically like take out a bet on a stock without selling your stock, right? Yeah, we figured out a way to do that with reality in a totally decentralized and auditable way. And yeah, we're doing the patent process with that. But what's really cool is that, like, for anybody who's like TradFi or anything out there and you're doing that shit at your day job, you can do that now in reality. And yeah, so come check it out. I mean, if there was anything good about the way financial engineering worked in TradFi, you're going to be able to do it on reality now, but like you're going to be able to actually play without having to like deal with a boss at Goldman that has his own agenda rather than just like, maybe you just want to have a ponytail, maybe you want $1 billion, maybe you just want to yell and have some friends with, fun with your friends, but you can do it. You can do it on reality now with no boss.
So can we, maybe Brian can touch further and then I'll ask my question.
Yeah, one just footnote is that these patents, it's just a defensive move, like in the same way that Blockstream had some Bitcoin patents. We just don't want anyone else kind of, stealing it and then privatizing it. It's meant to be a public good. So.
Got it. So I guess for me, the last time that we spoke, Brian, I was able to get a glimpse at the app on your phone. And not that I'm asking for you to like go out and get it first real quick, but like I haven't seen reality and like the functionality of it as an end user, right? So is there anything like, again, I know it's live, but is there anything I can, play with? Can I download, reality on my desktop and my and my mobile phone right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do that. We have the desktop app available for Macs, Intel chip or M chip. So you can download that and connect to the network. We're just in the middle of a network upgrade. So, but it will be available probably when people watch this podcast. So,
okay.
What's done with Windows?
Yeah,
Amazing.
we're almost done with Windows. And join our Discord and our Telegram. I guess we can provide those links.
I'll post all of that with the video of just all the ways to reach you, all the ways to get, plugged in.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I guess, so it sounds like you're still working on Windows, which is a pretty big audience, and that'll be an unlock. Same with, and you said iOS too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Got it. And
coming shortly.
So with reality, how big is the team?
What are we at?
Like a dozen, I think, maybe more.
Yeah. And so you got a dozen. You all are widespread, right? It's not like a local thing.
We're global. I was the only one in California. Now Europe and East Coast pretty much. Some Asia presence as well. Our co-founder is in Asia. And we raised $2 million last year, doing some more too. Obviously we say we're raising money so you don't have to, but realistically, we gotta staff a fucking team. And I mean,
That's right.
It's kind of a fucking miracle that we managed to do this with how few people are there. But like Brian and I literally like write code every day. That's like what we do. And then we take these fucking calls like in between, like
no shit.
So
you're still in the trenches. It's not like you have a bunch of devs that you're hiring as well to write the code. You guys are still.
We have an engineering that we're building. I mean, we worked with some of these guys for close to a decade at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, we're ready to scale. I mean, that's what our next round, we're raising another 3 right now, about $500,000 in. And yeah, I mean, this entire thing is literally is made out of blood and sweat. And you'll see all of our shit in the code base. I mean, if you just look, it's going to be on GitHub. We're just going to click open and you're going to be like, oh, wow, son of a bitch, Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
That's there awesome. They are.
So, yeah. so you have patents that are pending right now for some of the code you guys have written?
I think 3 total. But yeah, I mean, to Brian's whole thing, yeah, I mean, we just don't want somebody to steal it and make a for-profit version and try to, basically, patent screw us or do whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's all to some degree open, it's going to be open source. I mean, there's some license. I don't know. Brian's actually a patent attorney, so just ask him how we're doing it. He's the guy who does it all.
Yeah, IP attorney, and yeah, it's my original trade.
So I forgot to ask. I said it earlier, and I think we kind of touched on it, but the security aspect of this.
Yeah.
And the all of the things that that McAfee stood for. It's how is that implemented and how does that protect me? Whereas I'm a sitting duck in today's you know, with everything that we have? How am I going to be able to utilize reality in a way that protects me?
It doesn't have to ever touch like a actual like mainstream like I don't know what you'd call it, like Muggle society infrastructure thing that could be tied to your identity. I mean, literally, like, yeah, I mean, so we're gonna do like dark chain stuff. I mean, it's just something that comes after. Um, and we are working on like finding an actually decentralized way to create a dark chain. I could ramble on that for a while. You know how Monero and Zcash and stuff works. It's like
Yeah, of course.
it could be improved. Basically, they just like use a key pair and then they like burn the key pair. I have some stuff, you know, we have some stuff up our sleeves that we're going to do with that. But the bottom line here is it's like, you know, this is literally like an alternative reality, a whole new world that like works for you and that you can make of it what you will. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're free. If you want to go move down to Bolivia and go like invent MDPV or like do whatever you want to do, that's fine. You're gonna go, you know, have $1 billion on a yacht and drink martinis, that's sick too. If you want to go, you know, I don't know, do whatever the hell you want, man. I mean, that's
There's
kind of what
no,
McAfee meant to me.
of
Is that all
course.
you have to do is be smart. Like no matter what, like you don't have to fit in. You don't have to try and like get into these cocktail parties. You don't have to be born with a certain name. You can literally just be a smart ass motherfucker. You don't even need to share your name with people. And you can be free and make it work for you, man.
And that's really that's kind of where I'm getting at with this too, is like, what's the KYC process? Do I like have the ability to just buy one of these phones and have the app and you don't need to know a single thing about me?
Yeah, just your just your your public address, your private key is yours, and that's it.
Yeah, just buy like an iPhone or an Android or something without a plan. And then maybe go to Boost Mobile or something, you know, like we used to do on
Where are
our
you
flip.
at?
Where you at? I mean, it's real, dude. So yeah, we may or may not all be doing that already.
That's awesome. No, this is so cool. And I'm really appreciative of you all making the time. We're coming up on the hour. Um, I hope, we can keep the conversation going on multiple fronts. Yeah, and just stay updated. Maybe we could get on here in a couple of weeks once you have all of these things
Yeah,
downloaded with more updates. It would be so cool to have you guys on. I really enjoyed this. But yeah,
same here.
yeah, no, this has been
Yeah,
great. Brian and Wyatt, thank you so much. If you want to shout out anything real quick.
I do. Quick, I can't believe I'm the one remembering the plug. We're
Nice.
speaking. Brian and I are both speaking at a conference in Africa called the Deepin Summit. That's being hosted by one of our investors, one of the first people who YOLO invested in us a long, long time ago, called EV3. They're based out of New York, and the conference is in Mombasa and Zanzibar. And Brian's speaking in Mombasa, and speaking in Zanzibar, and there's going to be live videos of some cool shit.
Hell yeah.
Not just talk, actually like tech stuff. So I'm putting myself on there with some live coding. So watch me hold my shit together. So it's happening at the beginning of July. I don't know when it's going live, but we'll retweet that and there'll be more there and just examples for people to build stuff. Also, we'll be sharing more just like examples of how to build shit that are coming out live. The first production app built on Reality is about to be open source. So you can look at their GitHub and see how to do this stuff and actually use our SDK, which is pretty sick. So yeah, for the nerds out there, there's a lot of proof that's already there, and more coming up over the next coming weeks. So yeah,
Amazing. Thank you for that. Brian, is there anything you had on your end, or is that
Yeah, I well, come join our testnet. We are going to be onboarding more soon, so sign up to the waitlist if it isn't open when you're watching this, and we will get you on board. I would also just say any builders who are feeling intrepid, this is a whole new paradigm. This isn't like you're using Solidity or whatever. You can use any language that will compile to WASM. You can, and so basically you have creative freedom, very few constraints in terms of what you can build, and then you can host it for very little. You can have your community, your users host the application for you, so they become part of your team effectively. They become like your own army who will market your application, and cut your costs, and the value of their token rewards will increase as it grows. So we're kind of creating communities, and I think if there are any devs out there, they should really come and check us out because we're doing something different.
I have so many that just my mind just went racing. I have so many things that I want to say. And with that said, if you guys could stay on for like 5 minutes after
right.
I hit
Yeah, we're
end,
good.
but this was awesome. Thank you both so much. Really excited to see what you all do.
Thanks, Jeff.
Cheers.